The UK is fast becoming the fast food capital of Europe, and in this video we're going to be discussing why so many fast food restaurants are flocking to the UK high streets. We're going to discuss some of the reasons why that's not great for our financial health, and how we can simply overcome some of these big obstacles when it's becoming such a big part of British society. So, check out this video for more.
Welcome to the Art of Money Saving, a safe space for finance geeks to discuss personal finance. Whether you're on the cusp of being mortgage-free or rejoicing that you've sourced an outrageous 50 pence bargain, we all need a place where we can celebrate these victories. And now, over to your host, Joshua Owen Mills.
Yes! Welcome to the artofmoneysaving.com. For those of you who are here for the very first time, hello to you. This is my channel. I'm Joshua, a self-employed opera singer with a big passion for personal finance. But now, let's get back to the topic of this video. So I think the best way to do these videos is to draw on personal experiences. And for me, that begins at, of course, childhood. I have very fond memories of doing sports as a kid. Not really enjoying the sports actually, but I would do swimming and football. And the reward for doing the sports was fast food. We would have fish and chips as a family. It's a classic British dish, of course. And I loved this experience of going to get the food and enjoying the meal with your family. Sadly for me, that became a bit more difficult as I became much more independent as an adult. This became most prevalent when I bought my first car. The idea of freedom, being able to do anything that you wanted at any time, and of course with the fast food restaurants being open 24 hours a day, anything was possible. Now, this was absolutely a catastrophe for my health, and a catastrophe for my bank balance as well. When I was working a minimum wage job, I would be throwing cash away on these very expensive takeaways. So that's kind of my basis of where I started. I certainly don't eat fast food anywhere near as much as I used to. But there is a modern day equivalent which I'm beginning to notice now under the lockdown of 2020, reflecting back and thinking why and what my behavior was. And one of those things was striving for financial independence, searching for bargains. You go to the supermarket, you're looking for those yellow stickers, those bargains, and here in the UK, you can get 75% to 90% off sometimes with these bargains, and they're very tasty things. I mean, of course, you can get your fruits, your vegetables, your salads, that kind of stuff, which is fantastic. But also there are sandwiches, pastries, cookies, sweet treats that are almost always reduced. And I found myself getting into a bit of a dilemma because I would see these reductions on the shelf and I would simply think, well, it's reduced, and I felt a sense of duty to pick those up because it was such an amazing bargain. And what I found myself doing by striving for financial independence and financial freedom, I was actually sabotaging my health and picking up things which were very high in sugar and generally just not very good things to have in the house and to snack on. So it was very interesting for me to take a step back in the lockdown. Sometimes we forget when we're striving for financial independence. It's not always about picking the cheapest product, but it's about simply assessing your needs, what your values are, and what's important to you. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is when I'm going to go shopping, perhaps it's better to go to a shop like Lidl or Aldi and to do a generous shop. Buy kale, buy spinach, buy things that are going to fill your fridge that perhaps are more expensive than those bargains that you pick up with a yellow sticker.
Subscribe now.
Fast food in the UK is becoming a big problem. On the way home from my tube station in London, I have to pass several fast food restaurants, and they pour these fumes into the street, these sweet smelling sauces, and it becomes very difficult to resist temptation if that's something that you're used to having in your diet. So it's worth thinking about what ways can we avoid using fast food. How can we stay away from it? And I guess that's the first tip, is to stay away from it if you can. Resist tempting yourself by even passing a fast food restaurant. Now, as I said in my introduction, this is becoming much more difficult because the high street is being flooded with fast food restaurants. But if at all possible, avoid going somewhere where you're simply going to tempt yourself to look at the sign or to look at the menu. It's best just to avoid that altogether. A cash envelope system is another great way of sticking to a simple budget. Say you put £30 or £40 in your cash envelope for the week for the food for your family. Then as soon as that money runs out, there's nothing left in the envelope, and perhaps there's simply not enough money to have a takeaway that week in your budget. And I think that's a really good way of feeling the cold cash in your hand. It's much easier to realize the value of money when you're spending with cash, although not advised in the current lockdown situation, of course. But using cash, it's been proven scientifically that makes us more susceptible to realize what's going on, that things cost money, than simply tapping on a machine. If you're someone that just absolutely loves their takeaways and can't envisage a life without them, then maybe it's fair to come up with another solution. How about a fakeaway? There is so many options in the shops of similar styles of foods that are far cheaper than going and getting the fast food option. You simply just have to pop it in the oven yourself. Yes, it's not the same, I completely understand. I think a fakeaway is a really excellent way of compromising, because you're allowing yourself something that you want. It's not quite the same, but by not being the same, you're able then to move towards your long-term financial goals. If you are someone that's having takeaways very regularly, one thing that I encourage you to do is to calculate how much the takeaways are costing you over 1 year, or even better, over a 10 or 20 year period, and you'll be so shocked to realize how much that adds up. I was experiencing this myself, and one of the strange things that I would realize is that when it came to takeaway of food, my budgeting system just went out the window. It didn't matter how much the food costed, I was just simply going to buy that, and there was no other question. And this is not a wise thing to do. And again, it taps into this idea of addictive behavior, but also not having any preventative measures in place to stop this kind of behavior from happening. So it's been a real lesson for me to learn about the type of triggers that I have when I really feel that I want to take away. Not that it's just a thing to be demonized at all, but the fact of the matter is that I was spending far too much money on takeaways, and they were happening far too regularly as well. So it's something that I've actually stopped doing in my life for the time being. Not to say that I won't introduce that back into my life at some point, but for now, I've come up with some other ideas which I've found to be much more productive. Now, this next comment is going to be quite extreme, but in my own experience, my feelings were quite extreme, and I noticed the other people ordering regular fast food are also experiencing this type of behavior. But what is going to be the long-term impact on our finances? And the long-term impact on our health will impact our financial health. We're simply not going to be able to do fun things when we're older if we are struggling with obesity or if we're stuck at home. And I think it's really important to look at this stuff now so that we're able to think about the future. I can remember people saying this message to me and it sounding very, very upsetting and condescending, but it's a tough message that needs to be told, hence this important video. So what have been some of my solutions? Well, one of them was to buy a nice piece of kitchen kit. Now I hear you saying, isn't this a finance channel? Well, yes it is. I bought it when it was on offer, Black Friday offer, and I got a good deal. And it's been one of the best investments that I've made. I will put a link in the description below for this product, and it's called the Ninja Foodie. And what it is it's a great machine, and it has lots of different types of buttons on it, and it does pressure cooker, it does steamer, it does grill, air frying, all of these different types of things. So if it's not the Ninja Foodie, then come up with something else. Come up with a plan of action, a battle plan. It's so easy to fall into the trap of this becoming monotonous daily behavior. And it's hard sometimes to hear this. This is very sobering because sometimes we have to take a step back and break away from this behavior. And I think one of the real positives about the lockdown situation is that these comforts are being taken away from people, and it's a great time to review your behavior and to see how you feel about this kind of stuff, and to see where the demons in your life are. Question of the day. Have you been doing any fakeaways? What kind of recipes have you been using? What kind of products? Have they been successful? Have they been a disaster? Let me know in the comments below.
Thanks for tuning in to The Art of Money Saving. We love being able to share our passion for personal finance with our listeners. Drop us a line on Instagram and YouTube, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time.